You've just found the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Here, you'll discover the people and places that make Montana like no other place in the world. If you love to fish, hunt, or just enjoy creating your own adventure in the outdoors, you have come to the right place. The Montana Outdoor Podcast is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go to rmtte.com and see everything they have waiting for you online, or just come by 5680 Expressway in Missoula, and by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, delivering the highest quality lumber, paneling, flooring, and reclaimed wood products anywhere in North America. Let them guide you through the woods at their showroom in Missoula on Highway 93 South or at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, let's go discover Montana's great outdoors with your host, Downrigger Dale. Have a great show, buddy. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you very much, Roger. And as Roger just said, I am Downrigger Dale with the Montana Outdoor Podcast. And boy, guys, this has been a lot of fun. And rarely do I get to do what I'm doing today, and that is I get to go out on the road a little bit. If you recall last year, I went to Bozeman and sat down with the gang from Region 3, had a blast, and full disclosure, my daughter lives here in Bozeman, so anytime I have an excuse to see my grandkids and my daughter too, and her husband, it's great. And we had a lot of fun doing it, so I thought, well, let's come back and do it again and chat with Region 3. Real interesting region. Before we get into it, though, I want to just go through a couple things with you. One, I want to welcome all of our active military all around the world. We are so honored that we have active military that listen or watch the show from all around the world, different bases all around the world and that. So thank you very much for what you do for our country, and I hope this podcast brings a little home back to you. And feel free anytime, guys and gals, if you ever want to email us and ask us any specific questions, or if you want us to give a shout out to someone here stateside, we're always happy to do that. Also, thanks to all of our veterans across Montana. We have a lot of veterans in the great state of Montana, and we always like to thank them and acknowledge them for their service. Also, please like, share, and all that jazz. I'm getting all this YouTube lingo down, you know. But that helps us out a lot. So if you would subscribe, like, and share, we'd appreciate it. Now, let's get to Region 3 and talk with these two gentlemen here. Morgan Jacobsen, right there. Say hi, Morgan.
Good morning.
And Warren Hansen is with us as well.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys again. It's been a year, but it's nice to have you back here.
Yeah, I don't know where this past year went, Dale, but
it
went by quick.
Fast, didn't it? Just crazy. So let's get into it a little bit. Before we start, we have gained so much audience lately. So some of the folks that are with us probably didn't get to meet you last time. So if each of you would just, give us a little background about yourselves, why you got into the FWP, where you're from originally, that sort of stuff, we'd love that. So Morgan, let's start with you.
Okay, sounds good, Dale. Well, my name is Morgan Jacobsen. I currently work for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks here in Bozeman in the Region 3 office as the Communication and Education Program Manager. So I grew up in eastern Montana, in Miles City, and went to high school and a little bit of college there. And out of college, became a wildland firefighter for the Bureau of Land Management out there. Did that for a few seasons, and then after college, a couple years later, was a writer for a newspaper in Salt Lake City, and then worked for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources out of the southeastern region in Price, and did some of the same things I'm doing now. So public outreach, finding ways to share our message with the public, and in education events as well. So that's a lot of what I'm doing now too. Sort of, spreading messages that that we want people to know, but also answering questions that people send us. And on the education side, working in our hunter education program, and visiting schools and other community events around the region, just helping people get to know their wildlife resources better, and just helping people discover what it is that that makes it special for them. So that's the part I enjoy the most, I think. So, yeah.
Great. How about you, Warren? What got you into this crazy outdoor biz?
Yeah, thanks. I suppose likely I followed my father's footsteps a little bit. He's a fisheries biologist for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes in Polson, working on Flathead Lake. That's where I grew up, and watching him work and manage that fishery, I think really influenced the direction that I went. I went to school in Missoula, graduate degree in wildlife biology. I did my master's degree in Glacier National Park, studying harlequin duck reproductive biology, and worked for many of the state and federal agencies here in Montana, and then ended up joining the Peace Corps. Went to the Philippines for a couple of years. My wife and I did that together, and then when we came back, we moved to Alaska and worked for Alaska Fish and Game for some time, primarily focusing on moose research and different factors that affect population dynamics there. And then this opportunity in Bozeman came up a few years ago, and was fortunate enough to secure this job and move back to Montana and start working as the wildlife manager here in Region 3. We've got 7 area biologists across the region. We've got a non-game biologist. We've got several wolf and grizzly bear specialists and technicians that support the wildlife program here in the region.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, you don't have a damn thing going on.
Not a bit.
Now let's talk about Region 3 as the region itself. Let's talk a bit about its size, how much public access there is for hunting, how much private access is enrolled for public or for hunters and all that. Which one of you wants to do that? Warren, you want to take that or? Okay.
Go for it, Warren.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Region 3 is a fairly unique region. It's pretty special. Region 3, there's 7 regions in Montana. Region 3 is the southwest corner of Montana administrative region. It's a little over, got some notes here, some cheat sheet, 18,000 square miles that encompasses Region 3. Over half of it is public land, about 60%. And it's unique in that we've got lots of mountain ranges and rivers, and those mountain ranges are all largely the public land proportion of the state, and then we've got the checkerboard of state DNRC and BLM outside of the Forest Service that covers the region, and then we've got these big expansive valleys in between the mountain ranges that are primarily the private land and heavy agriculture. And a lot of that supports the rich wildlife that we have in Region 3, having that composition of mountain ranges and forest, and then open valley bottoms with a rich agriculture culture and tradition here in Region 3.
So the border for Region 3 goes all the way to west to the Idaho border, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
yes.
then east it goes how far?
It goes just east of Livingston to the east of Livingston. Part of that border is like Big Timber Creek. Part of it is the Boulder River, and then it kind of the border winds its way north to encompass Helena, and then Butte, Dillon, Sheridan, Three Forks, Bozeman.
18,000 square miles. I didn't realize it was that big. That is a big region then.
It is pretty big. You know, it's not the biggest in the state. There are some other big regions. We're about middle-sized.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As far as terrain goes, give us an idea of what hunters that have never hunted Region 3 before, what should they expect?
Yeah, so you have the valley bottoms in between those mountain ranges that I talked about. And that ranges anywhere from 3,500 feet to 5,000 feet in elevation. Those valley bottoms, and then those mountain ranges. Some of the big ones. Morgan can help me. The Pioneers, the Rubies, the Snowcrests, the Gravelies, the Tobacco Roots, the Gallatin, the Madison, the Beartooths, part of the Beartooths. The Gallatin Range. They're pretty steep mountains.
Yeah. Got a little snow on them lately,
yeah,
haven't
we got
they?
some snow on them. Yeah, 10,000, 11,000 feet. A lot of these mountain ranges. So about 5,000 feet of relief, from the valley to the tops of some of these peaks. They're all, largely, covered in timber. So if you're hunting in the mountains, you're going to be hunting in timber. It's going to be steep country. And not a lot of relief for like spot and stalk type hunting. The mountains do have a nice mosaic of some open meadows and grasslands mixed in with timber, which makes it such good elk habitat, along with those open valley bottoms. And so if you're hunting the valley bottoms, you're probably hunting on private property, and you got big wide open views. You can see a lot. And you can do more spot and stalk type hunting. Otherwise, if you're in the mountains, you're going to be doing a little bit more of still hunting, especially if you're in an area you're unfamiliar with. Learning those open hillsides and open meadows and patterning the animals. Where you're going to find them at different times of day. So largely we're hunting in Doug fir forest. We have some lodgepole. Get up in elevation. We're getting into limber pine and white bark pine, and of course those are important foods for grizzly bears, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. We have a lot of those walking around the woods, and especially this time of year, those animals are really focusing in on those cone crops of limber pine and white bark pine, and a lot of our archery hunters are encountering those bears now.
What about landowner participation? You said about half of the region is public hunting, which is great. How is your participation for private land going in the region?
Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty good. We have about 500,000 acres of private land enrolled in block management. That's 90-some landowners that are participating in that state program of block management. But there's also a lot of landowners that don't participate in that program, but are running their own program for public participation that they can tailor to meeting the public hunting needs that they value. That might be really supporting youth hunters or veterans or residents of certain counties, that they really open the doors for the different user groups that don't fit the state model of block management. I'm not sure the total acreage or the number of landowners that are allowing quite a bit of public access on their own, but it's pretty significant.
How's it going, Morgan, as far as the hunters and landowners getting along? I know FWP has really tried to focus on this. It's up to us, and protect the hunt and preserve that access. Everyone doing okay with that, you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Dale. You've mentioned a campaign that we've been working on the past couple of years. It's you'll see it on billboards. You'll see it on our website, where we say it's up to us, and what we mean by that is access is a privilege. Access is something that is precious, especially these days more than it has been in the past, and that's something we want to preserve. And in order to do that, it really takes all of us to preserve those kinds of access opportunities on private land. We talked about block management a little bit. I think one of the things that makes Region 3 unique is we don't have the most acreage enrolled in block management in the state. We have, I believe, the highest use on those properties, and so we're seeing more hunter days on each block management area, and the impacts from that kind of stack up and accumulate. So even as an individual, if I have a low impact, it's me and thousands of other people that eventually can lead to other more significant impacts over time. And so really we in the interest of keeping those relationships going good between hunters and landowners, and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks sometimes is the facilitator of those relationships. We're really sort of reaching out to hunters and sort of driving home that point that leave no trace is really the key to preserving future hunting access opportunities.
Yeah, and this was something that I did a podcast with Greg Lemon here a while back, and we talked about this. And it's not that, you've been getting lots of complaints from landowners and they don't want to participate anymore. It's just something that you guys have come up with to just kind of focus a little more on making sure we pass on the thanks and respect. And one of the things that I really thought was cool is you guys now have this portal where you can thank the landowner.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I think what this kind of boils down to is we're all humans, right? And keeping those connections alive and helping see the humanity in each other is part of that relationship when we're talking about providing access opportunities and keeping those opportunities going. So to that end, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, I think we're coming into the third season maybe where this is an option, is if you hunt on any type of private land in the state, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks has a portal through which you can send a thank you note to landowners that allowed access for you. So that most of the time we see that through the block management program. And in many cases, there's very little interaction directly between hunters and landowners enrolled in that program. But this gives people a way to reach out to those landowners and say, hey, we really enjoyed being guests on your place, and we appreciate your involvement in that program. So this is a way to do that. And I've talked with several landowners who have received notes of thanks from hunters, and they found it really, to be really valuable, and they appreciate that.
And lastly, we are in Bobcat country. As far as I'm talking about the Montana State Bobcats, you guys have actually put together when I did the podcast here recently with Region 2, we were talking about the Grizzlies got involved. The Bobcats are involved in the It's Up to Us campaign as far as giving away some tickets to games. Talk a little bit about that. That's kind of a neat deal that if they take the test, they get automatically registered, right?
Yeah, there's several promotions going on. That's one of them. We've had Champ, the MSU Bobcats mascot, hanging out with us in some hunter ed classes and in other things to help promote, good, responsible ethics among hunters, firearm safety, and other things. And then we've also been handing out Hunter Orange vests at games too. So it's been a lot of fun working with MSU Athletics and University of Montana as well on some of these things. It's a good way to kind of get the word out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, Warren, I want you to, we'll get into the hunting about it. I know a lot of you hunters are out there going, come on, let's get into that. I got my notepad out. I want to find out where I can find these critters in Region 3 and that. So we'll do that, find out what it is that how the herds are looking in the different species and that. We'll start with elk, and then we'll just kind of move through it and talk about it. So we'll cover that right after this. Are you going to get out hunting or to your favorite ice fishing hole this year? Yeah, I know. Finding the time is always the hard part, isn't it? Well, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you get the things done that you have to do so you have time to do the things you want to do. How about clearing the driveway or work areas of snow? Yeah, that can be a time sucker for sure. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has just what you need. A huge selection of Boss snowplows and accessories that'll fit any truck or ATV even. Boss snowplows are flat amazing at removing snow fast. Or how about something that can serve you at both work and on your next adventure outdoors? Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has awesome Diamond C utility trailers and accessories that can haul work equipment during the week and then your ATV or snowmobile or other awesome outdoor toys on the weekend. Of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer also has an amazing service department with top technicians and parts pros that are ready to fix or replace whatever you need, from installing a new fifth wheel or gooseneck hitch, or even rewiring the lights on your trailer so they work the way they're supposed to. What about getting some other time-saving accessories for your truck installed? That, my friends, is for sure one of their specialties. And get this, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can even help with financing. Yeah, they've got you covered. This is going to be a great fall and winter season, my friends, especially if you go see Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243 or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Get a hold of them today and then start planning that hunting trip. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, my guests, Warren Hansen, and we've got Morgan Jacobsen. We're in Region 3. We're actually in their big conference room. So you see that big grease board back there. I was going to leave a few notes for the guys, kind of tell them what they ought to be doing, but they just keep erasing it. But no. Anyway, we're having some fun here and learning all about Region 3. So, Morgan, let's get into the hunting itself. Now, one of the things I want to remind our viewers and listeners is the FWP put out the hunting forecast for each region, and I'm going to put a link in the podcast description, which you guys can find it. Usually it's right down below the play button there if you're on YouTube or that. Pretty easy to find. If you ever can't find it, just email me and I'll send you one. But for Region 3, I'll put that in there. You guys could do a little studying, as well as there's one they did for all the different Upland Game Birds and Waterfowl too, and I'll put that in there. So let's talk about Region 3. Let's start with elk, especially the one that seems to steal most of the press when we're talking about, and that's bull elk. Especially a lot of our hunters from outside of Montana get pretty excited about Montana's bull elk. Where would we find the big bull elk around Region 3?
Yeah, that's a tough question and an easy question. Because across Region 3, our elk herds are doing very well. For the most part, we are within our management objectives that we set in our elk plan. We've got a couple of hunting districts that are a little bit above objective, where we're trying to get more elk harvested there, and a couple of hunting districts that are slightly below objectives. And so we might have a little bit more restrictive regulations in those areas. But really across the region, our like I said, our elk populations are doing well. For the most part, we've got a management objective to manage our elk populations for at least 10 bulls per 100 cows. And we estimate that as our biologists are out surveying for these animals different times of the year. Just, for every 100 cows they see, how many bulls they see, figured out across, the total that they survey. They're also looking at, just the number of cows, the number of yearlings, recruiting into a population, all these different metrics to try to understand herd health. But I did take some notes here, just so I have it on hand. But you could really kind of throw a dart at the dartboard at Region 3 and find good hunting opportunities on public and private land. But a few of them I can list. Hunting districts 322, 323, 324. That's the Gravelly elk management unit complex. We've got a lot of elk in that area, good amount of public land, and a robust bull cow ratio, so a good chance of finding a bull and a mature bull. 370 in the Boulder area has got a robust bull cow ratio. 339 also has a good bull cow ratio near Helena, and 329. 314 Paradise Valley, all these areas, again, across the area, across the region, they're doing very well.
Yeah. So you guys have I was looking at that forecast, and it really looks like you guys have really found the niche there, and the Mother Nature's been good to them and all that, and they're doing well. Now, one of the things I did see was that a lot of the elk are found on private land here in Region 3. Is that true?
It is true. I mean, depending on the time of year, during the summer, most of these elk are summering on public land, typically in those high elevation areas where we have those mountain ranges that largely consist of public land. And then as winter comes, those animals tend to filter to lower elevations and onto agricultural properties where they can find a good stable food source through the winter. Hunting and other forms of recreation contribute to the distribution of those elk, as they get pursued and hunted on public land. They often tend to find themselves in areas where they don't experience those types of pressures, and often that happens to be on some private land. So it is a mix. I mean, you can find elk on public land year-round. There's going to be elk there, but often, those big herds that people see, from highways or while they're hunting, we'll see them often on private land.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that elk? I mean, obviously, as you said, that when activity is going on and that, they're going to try to get away to where it's more quiet and less things bugging them. But do you think that they're kind of conditioned now that they know when hunting season is and they will automatically just start heading to private land? I've had some people tell me that they really believe that. I don't know. Do you think they actually know when hunting season is?
I think that, there's some truth to that, and we've been able to validate that through some collar data where we can see whether it's the opening day of archery season or the opening day of rifle season, depending on the area and the type of pressure that those elk receive, that, very quickly after that opening day, a lot of the elk do quickly move to where they can find, less pressure. And often, like I said before, that is on private land that may not experience very much or any hunting pressure.
Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the things, especially for a lot of the bow hunters, that I need to call those elk in a little closer. There are times of the year when calling elk can really be a very beneficial way of hunting, and if you know how to do it right, and that is that happening right now. When is typically for Region 3 where you can have really good luck calling elk in?
Yeah, that is happening right now. The exact timing can vary from year to year, but we are kind of in the middle, actually kind of approaching the end of archery season now. And a lot of it is dependent on weather. If you've got, a really warm season, like we had the first couple of weeks of bow season, those elk aren't really triggered to get into the rut and to start bugling and gathering up their harems of cows and fighting for them. But once you get a couple of frosts and cold weather, that can really turn things on and make it exciting for archery hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to learn about some of those techniques, and some of these hunters are very good at it. They know how to emulate a cow or another bull, and it's fun to watch. Anything else that you want to talk about as far as elk goes? Have we covered that fairly well as far as where we can find them? When's the best time to go after them?
Yeah, I think we've covered that fairly well.
How about regulation changes? Anything new in Region 3 that hunters should be aware of?
Yeah, we did have some regulation changes, our last cycle, for some things to be aware of. We do have a couple of hunting districts where we don't have your classic 5-week season for cows and bulls. So just be sure to look at the hunting district where you're looking. Some of these areas we might have what we call a split season, where we might allow harvest of cows for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, and then only bulls for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. And often we're doing that in hunting districts where it's largely public land. We have a lot of hunters in the landscape that have the ability to harvest a lot of elk. And so we kind of do that to crack the door open to increase opportunity in areas, or maybe restrict opportunity in areas, so that we don't over-harvest an elk population. So just look out for those. We did reduce the youth hunting opportunity in hunting district 380 for cows and spikes to just the first 3 weeks of the season for this year. We are actually looking to further reduce some of those restrictions in the coming years. 380 is one of those hunting districts where our population objective is slightly below that management objective. In hunting district 310 in the Gallatin Valley, we don't allow any form of cow harvest there. So that's an important one to note, to not harvest a cow. Again, that's one of the few hunting districts that's below population objective. So we're just trying to, give that population a chance, not harvest those cows, give them a chance to grow up to population objective, so that we can meet those management objectives.
Okay. As far as other things, Warren, on elk, what else do you want to mention before we move on to some of the other species? Yeah,
there are a couple other hunts that have been real popular, some management hunts, late season type hunts that we have on participating ranches. One of them has been the Matador Ranch hunt, where we've had large numbers of elk coming into agricultural pivots, and we've been utilizing the public to harvest those elk, to try to disperse them off of those pivots onto public land, and also get a number of those elk harvested to keep that population within objective. And we've been largely successful with that, and we've been seeing less and less of those depredation events on that particular ranch. So we don't have plans currently to hold another hunt on the Matador Ranch, a management hunt. It's very likely that later this season those elk could come back, and we might have another one, but it's been very popular. People have been calling about it, and so we don't plan currently to have another hunt on the Matador Ranch. And historically, we do another large management hunt in the Madison Valley. We have many landowners, ranchers that participate in that. We typically harvest around 300 elk in the late season off of those management hunts. If we have an early or a heavy winter, then be on the lookout for that hunt.
And those game damage hunts, Warren, That's something you sign up for during the summer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sign up to get on a roster to be part of that game damage hunt. And then one that we haven't had in the past that we are planning to do this year is a management hunt in the Shields Valley in hunting district 315. That elk population's been gradually growing to above management objectives. Last year we had a pretty significant winter that hit in the Shields Valley. A lot of those agricultural producers got hit really heavily by those late season elk herds. And so, we are currently actively working to work with those ranchers to develop a late season management hunt for 315. So hunters can be on the lookout for that hunt as well.
Okay. All right. You think we got elk all covered now?
I think we did a pretty good job of scratching the surface of it.
There you go. And of course, I'm going to leave emails for both Warren and Morgan. So, if you guys, as we go along, you think, I got another question for him, feel free to send them an email, and it'll be set up down on the podcast description. You just click on the link and it'll automatically send the email. So pretty cool there. Now, let's move on to mule deer. What are we looking like for mule deer this year? In some of the podcasts I've done so far on these previews, there are some regions that are the CWD and other events have taken a little toll on mule deer. How about Region 3? How's it looking?
Yeah, for sure. We've been pretty lucky in Region 3 that CWD hasn't hit the mule deer population too hard yet. We definitely have some positive mule deer that have come out of Region 3, but hasn't affected them like CWD has affected whitetail in this region compared to other regions. Mule deer, across the state and in this region, generally speaking, have been on the decline for the last 20 or 30 years. And that's true in Region 3 as well. We do not have the mule deer numbers in the region that we had 20 years ago. And particularly the drought that we experienced, 2021, 22, really affected a lot of the deer and antelope populations in the region. And mule deer continued to have significant declines during that time. But since 2022, and we've had several good years, good springs, relatively mild winters. We've seen good rebounding numbers of mule deer for the most part across the region. So for the last couple of years, we've seen increases in mule deer, strong recruitment in the population, but they're still suppressed, over that 20-year long-term average for the most part.
Mm-hmm. What are the best districts to go find the muleys in Region 3?
It's kind of like elk, it's a bit of a tough question. We've got mule deer, pretty well spread. Across the region. You can find them in alpine environments and down in the agricultural environment as well. One of our strongest areas for mule deer is the Helena area. In the future, we're actually looking to further liberalize mule deer harvest in that greater Helena area. But again, you can find mule deer just about anywhere in the region.
Okay. Any mandatory testing for CWD for mule deer? I know, like Region 1, they have one area that if you harvest deer in that particular area, it is required to do CWD testing. Anything like that in Region 3?
We do not have any mandatory testing, particularly in the general hunting season. It's possible in some areas where we have high CWD infection rates in whitetail, where we might have a specific management hunt to reduce that whitetail population in an effort to reduce deer density and reduce nose-to-nose transmission across those species, or within the species, that we might require mandatory testing in a very targeted management hunt. But right now we don't have any of those planned, and we don't have any mandatory testing for the general season, all volunteer-based, but we'll test anything that you bring in as far as that goes.
So all in all, mule deer look pretty healthy across the region then, you think?
Yeah, compared to 5 years ago, we're seeing good positive, recruitment and rebounds in some of these populations, and so it should look pretty good for hunters for mule deer compared to, like I said, about 5 years ago.
Okay. How about regulation changes? Anything significant there that hunters should be aware of?
No, not for mule deer. No big changes there.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to black bear. What opportunities does Region 3 have for black bear? Is that a pretty good area for black bear hunting?
Yeah, it's a great area. We don't have black bear quotas in Region 3. Just an open season, fall season, spring season. And, we do monitor the harvest that's taking place. We require inspection of all black bears that are harvested so that we can keep a close track of, age of harvested animals, the sex of harvested animals, and particularly follow up on if a sow with cubs was incidentally harvested, so that we can try to collect those cubs, and we have a rehabilitation center that we can overwinter young of year cubs and release them back into the wild if that sow incidentally gets harvested. So again, for the most part, we've got black bears across the region. Great opportunities just about any.
Okay. Now, speaking of bears, you guys do have another bear in Region 3. Morgan, I know that FWP has really been trying to do a lot more education on being bear aware, and that Region 3 certainly is bear country. There's no doubt about that. One, where can they get more information about dealing with what to do if they were to stumble across a bear and now you've got that potential confrontation? Talk a little bit about that, and also about where they can get more bear training, because that's one of the things. Our grizzly bear population in Montana has really grown, and we can say, watch out for bears, but you really need to know specifically what to do if that moment comes where you need to decide, okay, what am I going to do now? There's a bear staring me down, and that, especially having that bear spray, but knowing how to use it and having it readily available. And I think that's where a lot of people make a big mistake.
Yeah, Dale, I think the time to acquire that knowledge is before you go out, right?
Right.
I think
you don't want to learn that one on the fly.
Yeah. There's so many online resources now that point people toward places to find elk, and so sometimes people find themselves in places with great elk hunting, but higher grizzly bear densities than they realize, I think. And so having that foreknowledge and that preparedness to go into bear country is really important. Anywhere in the western 2/3 of Montana, there's the potential to encounter grizzly bears, and so if you're in that portion of the state, this is something that needs to be part of your plan as you prepare to go hunting. So some good places, like you asked, to find that information. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks does have a host of resources online for not just hunting, but a variety of recreational activities, or for landowners that want to avoid conflicts with grizzly bears. And this seems obvious, but avoiding conflicts is easier and far better than dealing with those conflicts before they happen. So FWP's website is fwp.mt.gov, and then under the conservation tab, you'll find a spot for grizzly bears, and that'll take you to a place to learn about, if I'm a hunter, or if I'm a mountain biker, or I've got a chicken coop, how can I avoid conflicts with grizzly bears? And when it comes to hunting specifically, a few tips to keep in mind, like you said, Dale. One is carry bear spray and have it ready to use at a second's notice. Most encounters between hunters and grizzly bears where there's a potential for a safety threat. Most of those happen in surprise close encounters with very little notice. So having bear spray ready to go is important. Hunting in groups of people rather than by yourself. That helps you make casual noise while you're in the field, or localized noise so that you can avoid a surprise encounter. But also in situations where people have been injured, having more people in the group has helped end the attack as well. So go with a group of people, and then also avoid things like carcass sites. Or if you harvest an animal, make sure you have the tools and the people and the resources to get it out of the field as quickly as possible. And if you have to make multiple trips, just leave that meat where you can see it from a long ways away and make noise.
One listener had emailed me with kind of a neat idea. If he gets an elk down or whatever and is, taking a portion out and he's going to have to come back and get the other, he puts a stick with a flag on it right in, with the carcass. If that's laid down, then he realizes something has disturbed that. And now you got to really watch as you come closer. I thought it was kind of a neat idea. But what about this guy that we're looking at right here? Any story behind him on the wall behind you here?
I don't know the story on this one in particular. It was here when I got here, or before I got here, before Warren got here. I don't know if you've have any information on this one.
I don't know the story, but I've been asked it several times.
Yeah.
I should probably try to
It's a
track
nice
that
one,
down.
So
yeah. This is a much safer grizzly bear than the ones you might see out on the wild there. Let's talk a bit about wolves, Warren. Wolves. There's been a lot of confusion about how many wolves can you harvest and that. I don't know if it's as much confusing for Region 3. Region 1, a lot of people didn't realize. In fact, I was shocked when I did the recent podcast with Region 1. If you trap and hunt, you could actually harvest 30 wolves in Region 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is amazing. How about Region 3? What's the amount of wolves that you can actually harvest?
Yeah, so this past commission cycle, the commission's working really hard to figure out ways to get wolves harvested across the state. We have a legislative mandate to reduce the wolf population, which we have been doing in Region 3. That's why you'll see a difference in the regulation specific for Region 3. Our last estimate as of last year put the wolf population in Region 3 estimated at 170 some wolves, and that's decreased from a little over 200 wolves 5 years ago. So right now the Region 3 quota for wolves is 60 wolves, and then we have sub-quotas in hunting districts 313 and 316 with 3 wolves apiece. So an individual can hunt with a hunting license up to 10 wolves. You need a license for each of those 10 wolves. And then a trapper can trap with a single trapping license 10 wolves in Region 3. If you want to get that full 30, you got to harvest those wolves out of Regions 1 and Region 2. So you can hunt an additional 5 out of Regions 1 and 2, or trap an additional 5 out of Regions 1 and 2. And again, that's because we've got a robust wolf population in those regions where the commission has identified places that we need to reduce the wolf population, and that's why you see the regulations as such.
So bottom line, look those regs over really closely and make sure you're not over harvesting or any of that as far as wolves go.
Yeah, that's right. And also remember, like with black bears, we also require mandatory inspection of those wolves. where we'll put a pelt tag in the wolf, and we're also taking genetic sample and tooth sample to further develop and build our wolf population model.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about whitetail hunting in Region 3? What do you expect for this season for whitetail? Is it going to be pretty good hunting for whitetail? You had mentioned that you're experiencing some CWD issues with whitetail. Talk about that.
Yeah, we still have good whitetail opportunity across the region. Whitetail seem to be growing across the region. Finding whitetails in areas you haven't historically found whitetails, particularly in that Dillon country. Seeing more and more whitetails where you hadn't historically seen them. Our kind of our hot spot for CWD has been the Ruby Valley, where we have some of the highest concentrations of CWD in whitetail that have ever been recorded. And so we've very aggressively sought to reduce the density of those deers, like I talked about earlier. And so in combination with the disease and hunter harvest, we've reduced whitetail in the Ruby Valley by 90% in some places. So it might not be a great place to look for whitetail in that area. But where we've made up good ground reducing whitetail densities in that area, CWD continues to kind of radiate out from there, and we continue to see that disease moving up the watershed and down the watershed. So still really good whitetail opportunities in that area. But if it were me, I'd definitely be getting my deer tested anywhere that I harvest a deer, but particularly in that area of Region 3. Whitetails are largely inhabiting the lower elevation riparian agricultural environments, which you're typically going to find is on private property. So I'd look for those block management areas or knock on some doors to get access for whitetail.
Okay. Is there any districts that if you harvest a whitetail, it's mandatory to get it CWD checked, or is it just up to you if you
it's just up to you right now,
Okay.
Unless we have a targeted management hunt because we specifically want to reduce whitetail density because the infection rate in that herd is what we deem to be too high. So we're really trying to get animals harvested out of there and understand what that infection rate is. So, to answer your question, currently we don't have any mandatory testing, but it might be coming in some specific areas. So just be on the watch out for that.
Okay. How about mountain lion? I don't want to spend a lot of time because, we don't have a lot of mountain lion hunters out there that probably listen to this podcast, but we have a few. Region 3 is pretty decent for mountain lion, isn't it, or no?
It has pretty decent opportunity. It doesn't have the density of mountain lions that you might find in regions 1 or 2. It's a little bit patchier, again, kind of focused in, where that good mountain lion habitat is, and, more of that timbered, cliffy country that makes up, again, a lot of our mountain ranges where you can find lions, and our houndsmen do have good success finding them there, and the occasional incidental take from a hunter who's got a lion tag in their pocket. So you can find lions here. Again, it's kind of patchy across the region. Decent opportunity, I'd say.
Okay. One thing I rarely get to talk about on these hunting preview podcasts is buffalo hunting. And I know that there is some opportunity for that. That is, if I'm correct, that is completely permit only for buffalo, correct?
That's correct. That's all, special draw license for buffalo or bison. We offer 40 licenses, by draw only in the West Yellowstone area. I'm sorry, in the Gardner Basin area, 25 in the West Yellowstone area, and 5 in the kind of the backcountry Absaroka Beartooth area. Those are all, very difficult tags to draw. You can look up what those odds are, but no different than drawing a moose, goat, sheep tag for getting one of those bison tags. There is a roster that you can sign up for as well, but in recent years we've rarely activated that. was it the bad winter of 2022, 23 that we did that?
2 years ago, 2 seasons ago. Yeah.
Where we did activate we call it the cow-calf roster in the Gardner Basin. We had that real heavy winter that pushed the majority of the bison population out of Yellowstone Park into the Gardner Basin. And we've got, some pretty tricky management obstacles to navigate with bison. And when bison leave what we call the tolerance zone, where they no longer become bison, they become livestock for threats of the brucellosis disease that they can pass on to livestock, property damage issues, we'll activate that roster to get a higher harvest of bison to push them, back south into the tolerance zone where we're permitted to have them. And I think in the year that we activated it, I think we activated 20 or 25 people from the roster.
Yeah, it was, I'd say less than 30 for sure.
Yeah, so, it's not really an ace in the hole opportunity, but something that you could certainly, get on the roster, but it's no guarantee that we'll even have to activate it. So last year was a good example where we had a real mild winter. We had very few bison harvested on our state licenses. It wasn't fully, not even close to 100% harvest. In fact, maybe closer to 10% harvest.
I think we in total harvested 5 bison among state licensed hunters last year.
And so in a year like last year, we're not going to activate the roster at all. So unfortunately, if you get on the roster and you get a low number, well, if you don't get the right weather conditions, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Okay. I always like to set the record straight every now and then. I do get a lot of emails from all of you, and I do appreciate it, and I try to get back to every single one of them, and I'm usually pretty good at it. But Mary wrote me and said, I doubt you will ever answer this email because you probably never want to hear from people that are not hunters. Mary, that's not true. I want to hear from everybody. She writes, why would anyone ever want to hunt bison? So I'm going to go on record that I've presented Mary's question to you. Why is there a bison hunt?
Well, I would say for the same reason we've got a deer, elk, moose, goat, sheep, black bear, lion hunt. We have a resource that's available for the public that can provide a great hunting opportunity and a great source of nutrition for people's freezers, and bison is one of those.
Without a doubt.
It's a great big animal with lots of very healthy meat that can feed a lot of people. We have hunts when we have populations that can sustain harvest, and a lot of these populations, just about all of them, I'd say would require harvests to keep them in balance with everything else that's happening on the landscape. If we don't have harvest, then the potential exists for populations to grow to points where they are unhealthy. A great example of that is the Bozeman area elk herd is above population objective. It's a difficult place to harvest elk because of the mosaic of small property ownerships, housing developments. And as a result, that population has mange. It has hoof disease issue that can cause the elk a lot of pain and death in some cases, where we need harvest to keep populations at a healthy level.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, Mary. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something?
A couple things to add on the bison piece that we talked about. This is, I think, a species we get a lot of questions about from hunters who, for obvious reasons, have never hunted bison before. They're unfamiliar with that process. With the bison roster specifically, people will call and ask, well, I see that I'm number 15 or number 60 on the roster. What are my odds of getting drawn or for that roster to be activated and for me to get a call. So we do have a resource available for people to check and see whether that roster has been activated or not. And it's a hotline that you can call. And so for the number for that, if I can remember correctly, is 406-577-7889. And so you can call that and see if that Bison roster has been activated. The other thing about Bison is if you're considering applying for it, one, know that it's highly variable from year to year. As we talked about last year, there were 5 harvested out of, a total of 70 licenses available. So, so keep that in mind, that it really just comes down to a variable migration. And then if you do draw that license, it's a considerable, effort and operation to handle a bison carcass. And so you got to have those arrangements made in advance so that you're prepared if you are lucky enough to harvest one. So those are some things people run into. And there's a new resource on our website now that answers some of those frequently asked questions related to bison hunting. So if you go to our website and you find the bison page, you'll see that at FAQ resource now.
And one thing I'll add to that, Mary, I think you'll find this interesting and worthwhile, is I have had an opportunity to talk to a few folks that were able to harvest a bison. And without a doubt, and I'm not exaggerating, every single one of them throughout the discussion mentioned it was an honor to do so. So this is considered an honor and a big deal for someone to actually get to do it. They are respected in that. So again, Mary, you're welcome here, and you're welcome to ask us any questions. That's one of the reasons that I do this podcast. I want everyone to understand what hunting is, why it is part of our heritage here in Montana, and what the purposes are for it. I think when we all talk to each other and learn from each other, we end up getting to know that we're all pretty good folks out there. So anyway, thank you for your email. Let's talk about pronghorn. Warren, what are the pronghorn opportunities in Region 3 like?
Yeah, for the most part, we do have pronghorn across the region. You can find pronghorn, in the Big Hole, Centennial Valley, Ruby Valley, Boulder, Helena area, Townsend area, and Paradise Valley, Shields Valley. You can find small numbers of pronghorn across the region. And just like any other hunting opportunity for pronghorn in the state, it's a draw opportunity. You got to put in for a specific hunting district that you want to hunt them. And because we have relatively, compared to the rest of the state, few numbers of antelope, and a lot of people wanting to hunt antelope in Region 3, your draw odds in Region 3 for rifle are pretty low. It may take several years, depending on where you put in for pronghorn, to draw pronghorn in Region 3. We did see pretty significant declines from the heavy drought that we had in the 2020 through 2022 years, and then they were also pretty severely impacted by that heavy winter that was followed up by that drought. And we are just now seeing those populations starting to recover some. So some of those populations, we are seeing an increase. Typically, pronghorn do recover pretty quickly. They fairly often twin, and so you can see pretty rapid growth in populations if you get a couple of good years. So some populations, we are seeing that now. That population is starting to pretty quickly recover. Some populations are a little bit slower to recover, but we are seeing good recruitment. So we're expecting to see good recovery in a couple of years. But it all takes a little bit of time. Again, with pronghorn, it happens a little bit faster than some of our other ungulate populations, but there are good opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Region 6, I did a podcast. That was the first of our series this year, was Region 6. And wow, they had a massive increase in pronghorn. is like 40% over last year, and so is
That's
Region
great
7.
to hear.
So, yeah, they're doing really well there. Let's talk a bit about upland game bird, waterfowl, all that. What are the opportunities like in upland game bird for Region 3? What do we find there, and how healthy are your upland game bird opportunities?
Yeah, I wouldn't say Region 3 is in particular a destination for any upland or waterfowl hunting, but we do have opportunities across the region. This year, we did have a really good spring, which translated into good recruitment into the population for our grouse species. That includes our mountain grouse, which is rough grouse, blue grouse, and sage grouse. Those are the big three that we have in the region, and so our hunters reported seeing really healthy numbers where those species exist across the region. We do have some good pheasant hunting opportunities in Region 3, and we do have our pheasant release program that we started a few years ago. A lot of those birds are being released in Region 3 from Helena to Bozeman, where we have decent pheasant habitat. We are releasing a good number of birds from the youth opener all the way through the general hunting season until it gets too cold to transport and release them, where you can find those upland birds. We also have this we permit the essentially farm-raised birds on private property. We call them shooting preserves, and that ranges from chukar to Hungarian partridge to other species. So it's not uncommon to be out hunting upland game birds across Region 3 on state land and kick up kind of an oddball species that kind of bled over from a shooting preserve.
Oh, okay.
And a number of people, find opportunity in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you have it there. Like Warren said, maybe not a destination, but, if you're out and about, give it a go. Let's take one last quick break here. And then when we come back, I want to cover a little bit about, what you guys feel are some of the main challenges that Region 3 is facing, and also maybe one or two of the things you're most proud of about your region. So we'll do that right after this. I want to take a minute to thank Superior Hardwoods of Montana for their support of this podcast. It is what allows us to bring you the latest from Montana's great outdoors, with very few interruptions, by the way. That said, there is another reason we are lucky to have Superior Hardwoods of Montana on board. They are an amazing business that can offer all of you some of the most incredible wood products you have ever seen. Plus, Superior Hardwoods of Montana is still a place that actually cares about and appreciates their customers, the same way we appreciate you, our viewers and listeners. They offer you something original and totally unique, like their 11 acres of wood wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, well, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Wood from old barns, historic homesteads, even historic factories. And that amazing wood can be part of your story too. Right there in your home can be a piece of American history, brought back to life, custom milled and refinished to your specifications. So it not only tells its original story, but also speaks to who you are and how special your home is. Superior Hardwoods also has exotic woods, live edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring too, all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing this since 1977. They know how to guide you through the woods. Swing into their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula, or you can just check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Local, knowledgeable, family run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, thanks so much for joining us. We've had a great time talking about Region 3 here and all the different hunting opportunities. It is a wonderful region. Great hunting. I think we could make this about a 3-hour show if we really wanted to go super in-depth into it. Some great stuff. Let's talk a bit about Region 3's challenges. You know, there's a lot of great success that Region 3 has had and the wildlife management area and that, as Warren, you've talked about, and Morgan, you've talked about some of the educational side of things in that. What would you say, and I'll ask both of you to answer this, is the biggest challenge that's facing Region 3 right now?
Yeah, certainly. There's several challenges that we face day to day. You know, one of the big ones that we've talked a little bit about is elk distribution. We've got a lot of elk in Region 3. Our lowest estimate for the region is right around 60,000 elk.
Wow.
Elk in the region, and that's just elk that our biologists have put eyes on. That's not an estimate, and so there's more elk out there that aren't counted. But a lot of hunters find it frustrating when they see a lot of elk but can't get access to them. And so distribution is tough, and we have a lot of people recreating in the forest, whether they're hunting or some other form of recreation that may be displacing elk from areas where they have opportunity for harvest to areas where they don't have opportunities for harvest. And so that's a big challenge that we're trying to figure out solutions to. That there is no single silver bullet or easy solution to that. So that's a big one. And then that kind of leads into that other challenge of crowding. We have great hunting opportunity, and so a lot of people come here to hunt. And so you might not even find a parking space at a trailhead to go hunting. I heard a phrase just this fall from a landowner who talked about the pumpkin patch that keeps growing, which is just all the orange vests out on the landscape.
Pumpkin patch.
And I thought that kind of characterized it well. That there are a lot of people that are looking for opportunities here in Region 3 because we do have a lot of good opportunities. But with that comes the potential for crowding in some areas, and the potential for a decreased experience for the hunting public. And so that's a big challenge, and as our population continues to grow, we see really disparate values for wildlife. We heard from Mary earlier about why would you want to shoot a bison, and so those values continue to be voiced on both sides of the equation, and in lots of other directions as well that you might not have expected. And so we have a lot of people who have strong opinions and differing values for how wildlife should be managed, and that's a big challenge as well.
Mm-hmm. Morgan?
Yeah, I think Warren hit the really big ones. We have a growing human population in this corner of the state, and with that comes some growing pains with a place that now has to sustain more people and a greater variety of types of recreation, and different, like Warren said, sets of values and expectations for what they want to see when they come here. And so at Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, one of our goals is to strive for balance, and that might look like a shared sacrifice among all of us to achieve that balance in a way that we can sustain these resources going into the future, both the wildlife as well as the the areas where we go and the access opportunities. And it goes back to what we said at the beginning about it's up to us to minimize our collective impact so that these resources can continue to be available to us. So I love living and working here because there is such a variety of issues and opportunities here. We have everything from wild bison like we talked about, to amazing trout fisheries, to grizzly bears, to abundant elk populations. And there's just a lot here, and it all sort of, goes into this soup of challenges and opportunities that make it exciting.
Mm-hmm. What about, I'm sure this is a real hard one, because there's a lot to be proud of in Region 3. What are the things you guys are most proud of about your region, and what your offices have been able to accomplish here in Region 3?
Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of obvious. I mean, a lot of this is just a testament to our staff. Our field biologists, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a more dedicated bunch to their job. Across the state, that's true, not just in this region. Yeah, I think it goes without saying any more than that our staff is just first class.
Yeah, I think the fact that these, to kind of as an extension of what Warren is talking about, I think it's no accident that we have the resources that we do here. Tremendous opportunities, a landscape that can sustain a lot of use and accommodate a lot of people. An example of that would be, we've been talking about hunting for the most part, but fishing access sites, as an example, are a tremendous access opportunity that some states don't have. And so, if you look at Region 3, we have a third of the fishing access sites in the state of Montana, and it's a lot of work to maintain those in a way that's safe and accessible and enjoyable for people. And I think our staff do a really good job of managing, an abundance and a variety of places. It's not even mentioning our state parks and our wildlife management areas too. There's a lot there that provides good opportunities for the public. And again, I think our staff do a really good job at sustaining and continuing to provide that.
Well, I can attest to it for sure. From just you guys spending so much time with me today, and being so willing to talk to the public and get out and genuinely wanting to know what people think, to even the folks right at the front desk there that are so polite and there to help hunters, and they get a lot of questions. A lot of traffic comes through there, and everybody seems to love their job. So hats off to you guys. Everyone's found a good spot here, I think. Is there anything we haven't talked about yet for Region 3 that you wanted to cover, Warren or Morgan?
I'm sure there's a lot out there that we could talk about, but I think we've covered the real exciting stuff so far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been a pleasure to be on the podcast with you again, Dale. And we're I think one of our favorite parts of working here is just seeing how excited people get when they find success, and hearing their stories when they come through the check station or the office, and telling us about their experience. We find it really valuable.
Mm-hmm. When you guys go hunting, what's your favorite thing to hunt? We'll start with you, Warren.
That's what makes Montana so special. Is it's like a deck of cards when you get your licenses and your permits to hunt in Montana. It's great to be able to go out and say, all right, well, I'm looking for mule deer, whitetail, elk, and antelope today. You can't really do that in very many other places.
No, you can't.
And then you can maybe go look for upland birds and waterfowl in the afternoon and evening. So it's just a phenomenal place to do that. Yeah, I love doing it all. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah. How about you, Morgan?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a favorite for the same reasons Warren talked about. Earlier last month, I usually go elk hunting in mid-September, and went out, as I had planned originally, but had to change my plan due to some things that came up, and so was able to pivot and go archery hunting for antelope instead, and the next day went archery hunting for whitetail deer. And so just that variety and the length of seasons in Montana really is something special too. So I've lived in other places where it's like a 9-day general season and you're out there with everyone else, but we're able to spread things out better in Montana.
Yeah, we are very lucky here, and so let's keep it that way, everybody. Guys, thank you so much for spending so much time with me today and letting me invade your space here, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of great information, so thank you both.
Yeah, pleasure to be here with you, Dale.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Region 3, a great region, a lot of opportunities, as you just heard. So I hope you guys will come to Region 3 and take advantage of it. In the meantime, be safe out there, everyone. Be good to each other, and, well, we'll see you next time down the road here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for watching the Montana Outdoor Podcast. You know, there's no way we could do this podcast without the incredible support of sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock, high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go see them on the web at rmtte.com. We'd love to hear what you thought of this week's podcast. When you get a minute or two, shoot us an email and tell us your thoughts. Same goes if you have any questions for Rigger or this week's guest. Just send your questions or comments to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. Hey, don't forget we should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, gang, we hope to see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.